Hi, Tun. My question is, so the NEP or race-based politics or policies in Malaysia was introduced to lessen the gap between different races. But now we find instances of a lot of abuse by rich Malays abusing these race-based policies. So do you not think it is time to move towards needs-based policies, targeting the poor across all races? And if true that it's majority of the Malays that are poor, they would still stand to benefit at the same time. And the rich Malays are then not able to abuse racial-based policies then. So do you think it's time to move towards needs-based policies as opposed to racial-based policies? Thank you.
Well, when you talk about need, you think that what you think is the need is the same as what other people think is the need. There are differences. You may think that what you consider to be a need of some people may not be the same as what other people think. That is one thing. What is happening is that there are differences based on wealth, for example. Some people are rich and some people are poor. There is an idea that, well, we forget about race. We just help the poor. Unfortunately, the result is not the same. Some poor people benefit from whatever opportunities they are given, but some other poor people cannot benefit because for other reasons, perhaps because of their culture. So we need to recognize the fact that certain races, given the same chance, do not do as well as other races. That is the story of humanity. Why do you think some countries are doing well and some countries are not doing well? Of course, you can help the needy, but if the needy doesn't know how to make use of the opportunities, they are not going to do well. On the other hand, there may be needy people in other countries, but they have the capacity to do well and they will do well. That is something that you need to recognize. As between, for example, the Japanese, for example, they were very badly beaten during the war, but they had the capacity to recover. Their culture allowed them to recover. But some people who were damaged during the war could not recover. So you see that Japan has done better than most other countries which also won the war, but their capacity to improve themselves is weaker than that of Japan. So we would like to say that let's forget about race. Let's just concentrate on poverty. The result will not be the same. I have watched this over 80 years. When Malaysia received a lot of people from other countries to live in Malaysia and work in Malaysia, these people were all poor as the Malaysians. But the Malays in particular did not do so well because they don't have the culture that enables them to make good progress. The other people who have a culture that is more positive, they have done well. So the disparity has become worse. It's not by just attending to poverty, it doesn't result in solving the problem between races. That is why we have to have this affirmative action, because affirmative action directs at the poor people of this particular race.
Thank you. I recognize the member with the black jacket. Yes.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tun. Thanks for being here today. I have questions regarding brain drain and a lot of the underlying challenges in Malaysia. So we all know that brain drain is a long-standing issue that we face in Malaysia, and this problem is only getting worse recently, and statistics has found that at least 500,000 of highly skilled Malaysians are working in professional industry overseas. So the problem is that many of these Malaysians from research has found that the reason why they choose to work overseas is because mainly for one reason, skepticism about the country's prospect. And this comes from different underlying factors. For example, like pointed out earlier, policies that meant well but poorly executed, but also poor leadership where people were given positions in government as well as GLC, not based on their merit, but based on some other external factors. So if you were to be elected as a prime minister again, what would you do to address these challenges, or why are these challenges was not fully addressed during your tenure? Thanks so much.
What you're saying is almost the same as what he has said, that we are not fair. We discriminate in Malaysia. We help the Malays more than the Chinese. But the strange thing is that while we help the Malays more than the Chinese, the Malays remain poor, and the Chinese who have not been helped are much better off. It's because of the difference in their culture. For example, I don't know how many Malays are in Oxford University as compared to Chinese. Although you are not helped, you are here. You have the opportunity probably because you are better off than the Malays. So helping people does not produce the same result irrespective of the kind of people that you help. So that has to be taken into consideration. And of course, the people who do not get will feel that it is unfair. But the people who do not get, there are people who feel that they have not been given the chance, so they will feel very unhappy about it. We are living in a multiracial, multi-religious country. It's very difficult to balance the development of the different races. Some races do better than others. That is a fact of life. And if you were to say that being equal to everybody will produce equal result, I would say that you are wrong. You can be equal to everybody, but some people will do better than others. This is why in examinations, for example, in your school, you have to sit for the same paper, you have been taught by the same teacher, you have given the same time as others, but some people do better than some students do better than other students. It's a question of capacity. So we have to try to balance it through giving better opportunities to those whom we think would not do so well. So this is something that we have to accept.
Thank you. I recognize the speaker with the unif jumper, I think.
Hi, Tun. So you were in power for 22 years, and then another 2 years after that. You are one of the main implementers of the new economic policy. I would just like to ask, given that you see these disparities between the races exist today, under the implementation of the new economic policy, is there anything else that you would do in order to close the differences between the races that aren't based on affirmative action, given that the strategy that has been implemented by yourself and your parties may have closed the gap but not entirely eliminated the gap?
Well, I should think that I have some ideas about how to overcome the weakness of certain people. I mentioned just now about the role of culture, the role of value system. For example, we create opportunities. for the Malays and for the Chinese. We gave a contract to a Malay. He doesn't know what to do with the contract. He's not a good contractor. He sells the contract. Obviously, he's not going to get better well. But when he sells to the Chinese is much better in business. In fact, they are so good that even the Americans are worried about them. So what happens is that although under the new economic policy, we favor the Malays, but actually the results is quite different from what we expected. The Malays do not do well because they find a shortcut, the quick way to become rich by selling whatever opportunities they get. But the Chinese, they are very industrious, very clever in business, and they do well from the new economic policy. In fact, the new economic policy has actually broadened the disparity between the Malays and Chinese. Now we know why. Because the Malays were selling the opportunities given to them. This time around, if they were given contracts and they sell, then the contract becomes null and void. So you cannot sell. So whether they like it or not, they have to do it by themselves. Of course, they will make mistakes. They will lose some, but some will succeed.